quick digression. You people should really tune in for the first 30 minutes when we're not recording. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5. It is August 10th, 2017. Of course, it's Thursday, and of course, it is Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Steve, how goes it on this fine Midwest morning?
Good morning, Daniel. Doing great, man. Excited to be on, talking about the Buckeyes, #1 ranked recruiting class in the country in fall camp. Huge expectations for OSU on the field, so exciting time to be around the program.
Speaking of being #1, there is a new threat to being #1, and that is the University of Texas. No, and Tom Herman, so we shouldn't be worried about this?
No, there's no threat as long as Ohio State stays the course and gets the guys we think they're going to get. Micah Parsons, Jackson Carman, Anthony Cook, Tyreek Smith. Ohio State lands those guys. I think it's a lock to finish #1.
You mentioned the guy that I want to talk about. I think there's going to be some intrigue about Tom Herman today on the site, which isn't surprising. Obviously, Tom has some pretty deep Ohio State ties, both in the time he spent here and kind of the mode he has taken, a Meyerish mode. What's your vibe on Anthony Cook? Probably, definitely the top secondary member left on the board for Ohio State. I think there's going to be growing concern about him coming to Ohio State. I think he leads in the crystal ball for Ohio State, but there is fear that if Texas has a great season, given the thrust of Herman, that Cook will go there. Do you have that same fear, or are you still as confident as ever that he'll be a Buckeye?
I've not heard one thing to make me believe Ohio State is not the leader right now for five-star cornerback Anthony Cook. Ohio State has done the best job recruiting him as far as the staff, collectively getting to know the people around Cook. It's a similar situation to Okudah, who Anthony happens to be close with. They have the same personal defensive backs trainer, speed trainer. And so right now, Ohio State's in a great spot. Obviously, Anthony's dotting his I's, crossing his T's. LSU was my original crystal ball pick for Anthony, as a matter of fact, until Ohio State really got in there and did a good job. So that crystal ball pick of LSU was 2 summers ago, or I think it was 2 summers ago. Yeah, not this past summer, so 2 summers ago. LSU was in a good spot, but Ohio State over the last year has really done a nice job with Anthony. Clemson's in there as well. I know that obviously Texas, I can't say they have 0% chance, because maybe if they do have a great season, it'll pique his interest to possibly stay home. And they have a great defensive back class right now of Texas guys committed to the Longhorns, but I just didn't get the sense that Anthony was as high on Texas as he is a few others, and then Ohio State being in the driver's seat.
I think with the elite guys, especially with the Okudah hook there, and also guys like Cam Browning being there, I think the idea of being a first-round draft pick in the pipeline Ohio State has created over the last 3 to 4 years is going to be too hard for him to turn down. Like you said, this is a guy who's been on the radar forever. He's been considered a national prospect forever, so he has definite NFL dreams, and he probably knows the best way to get there. Speaking of NFL dreams, another guy who definitely has suffered an injury, Kamryn Babb, class of 2018 wide receiver out of St. Louis, thought to be a heavy Ohio State lean. One point in time, the #1 receiver in the 24/7 Sports rankings. He has hurt his knee. He has torn his ACL. He probably or obviously will not play his senior year. A couple things. Do you think this will dissuade the Buckeyes in any way from taking his commitment when that happens? And do you think others will get in the mix? Is this a chance for a school like Mizzou to slide in there or something like that?
I haven't heard that Ohio State would move on. They've invested so much time. He's been their top receiver target for the entire cycle. And then you and I talked before the show, and I believe you posted this on the Front Row message board. But Ohio State, you look at the J.K. Dobbins, who missed his senior year, and he's the first one to have a black stripe removed, right? J.T. Barrett was hurt. Jalen Guild missed his entire junior year. Was fantastic this summer on the camp circuit. He's expected to have a big senior year. Cam Babb's a big, strong, athletic kid. I think he'll come back just fine and be a terrific player on the next level. And obviously some other schools are trying to push there. Nebraska's got his receiver teammate committed in Cameron Brown, but I just think Ohio, I don't think, I mean, talking to people around Cam Babb, Ohio State has such a huge lead. I thought that had Cam made it back for Friday Night Lights, there was a chance he'd already pull the trigger. So whenever he steps foot on campus the next time, I have him on huge commit watch. Now, I know he's intrigued by LSU and just going to see some of those schools in the Southeastern Conference, but Ohio State, similar to Anthony Cook, and why I feel they lead for him. Same thing with Cam Babb. They've just really collectively done a great job of recruiting him, from Urban Meyer to Zach Smith, to just when he comes to campus having outstanding experiences while in Columbus. So I don't think there's any reason for anyone to worry about Cam Babb's future, whether you're a Bucknuts reader or you're on the Ohio State coaching staff, when you look at just previous guys in the Ohio State program that have been so damn successful coming off an injury. And I expect J.K. Dobbins to really have a big freshman season.
I just thought of two more. Nick Bosa and Trevon Grimes also missed serious time.
Those guys will just look different. Grimes is bigger and longer, but he's a grown man. Babb's not as tall as Grimes, but there's not a receiver in America with a more built-up lower half than Cam Babb, biggest calves in this class. Just thoroughbred legs for Cam Babb. Those guys are just grown men already. But Grimes was one of the best top deep threats in last year's recruiting class. So, he should be able to give Ohio State something if there's an opportunity in that regard to take the top off the defense.
Yeah, Austin Mack, Grimes, Ben Victor.
McLaurin.
All three of those. Yeah. Well, read The Boarding House Today if you're a Terry McLaurin fan. I'll just say that. Another Ohioan is committing today, Aeneas Hawkins. By the time this podcast comes out, he may have already committed down to Penn State and UC, the Moeller standout. Is Ohio State letting one get away here, or what's your vibe?
Well, with what Ohio State's recruiting, that they're down to Tyreek Smith and Jason Oweh and Micah Parsons on the D line, and they already have some good ones in the boat, so you can't take them all. When you look at Aeneas Hawkins, I think he's going to go to Penn State. So is there a chance that he could really be a thorn in Ohio State's side? Sure, because obviously he's playing in the Big Ten. And then second, Penn State's really done a nice job of developing that position. They have one of the best D-line coaches in the country in Sean Spencer. His nickname is Chaos, Coach Chaos. The kids love playing for him, and he's proven to have a good eye for what he's looking for and then developing them in his career. So, yeah, there's a chance, but as it stands right now, as a prospect, you gotta like the guys Ohio State's in on better. But being a prospect and then being an actual player are two different things. And we all know on this show right now that Penn State, they got a mean, aggressive, hard-nosed defensive line, and you got to figure that the guys they're recruiting will keep the same culture going.
Yeah, we talked about it. That's one thing that Penn State has, even through their, off season or whatever I call it, off season, off the field malfeasance. Their defensive line has remained solid, even when they were down. It's good coaching. Speaking of remaining solid, you have a new venture going on 24/7 Sports as part of our Scout merger. They have developed a Big Ten podcast. Now, I'm old, but I think it's called the Notorious Big Ten Podcast, a play on my man Biggie Smalls.
Notorious B1G.
Explain to the people what it is, when it is, what they're going to get.
Well, right now, Alan True and I are doing the Notorious B1G podcast. Alan True is Scout 24, and myself at 24/7 Sports. We've had 4 episodes. We do it once a week. It's typical. We've done them on Thursdays, but this past week we did it on Tuesday because that was the day that James Franklin and DJ Turkin were available, so they were our first 2 high-profile guests. Next week we're doing our college football Big Ten preview show, taping it on Tuesday. The wonderful Dave Biddle will join us amongst others around the 24/7 and Scout networks to talk about the respective teams they cover going into the season.
So this doesn't mean you've gotten too big for your britches and you'll no longer do just the lowly BM5, does it?
The BM5 is my favorite.
There you have it, Bucknutters. Steve Wiltfong isn't going anywhere. Let's everyone have a great day. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Y'all have a good one. Thanks. See you then.